Hello, guys. How is it going, everybody? Back here for for my second recording of the other days of the RNC. I'm not going to waste any time. Let's get right into it as I look for the video on C-SPAN. Uh, I watched a lot of it. I didn't watch the Rand Paul stuff, so as I get into the video now, I'll get through it. So here we go. No time wasted because this will be as you can already tell, a long podcast. So, going through it here. Hmm. Okay, so C-SPAN's getting ready for day two. Another highlight video to enter into the RNC day two. And again, I know that this was a couple weeks ago now, but still, this is a. I feel like I could give a lot of political opinion as to what's going on now while mentioning it, while watching this, which I promised myself to review. Even though I watched it already. But I want I'm not going to remember anything, so I have to go through each video. So I'm going to the first speech now, which I don't think I saw. Okay. It's a Reverend Norma Urabazo from the International Church of Las Vegas saying prayer. So then they got the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
A task force called Operation Lady Justice to address the problem. The president also provided 207.
Okay, so first up to really speak after the Pledge of Allegiance was somebody named Myron Lizer. He's the Navajo Nation vice president. I didn't even know this guy spoke. So again, I missed the first 2 days quite a bit. So let's take a look here. Let's see what just a clip of what he had to say. I'm just gonna go to a random spot. Okay, so
to Indian country was a great start in alleviating the devastating effects that the COVID-19 pandemic has inflicted on our Indian tribes. The Navajo Nation once led the nation in per capita positive cases because of the health disparities that previous administrations failed to improve. Whenever we meet with President Trump, he has always made it a priority to repair the relationship with our federal family. Recently, President Trump signed the first ever presidential proclamation officially recognizing missing and murdered American Indians and Alaska Natives. He established a task force called Operation Lady Justice to address the problem. The president also provided $273 million to improve public safety and support victims of crime in the Native American community.
Okay, well, it's just an endorsement to Trump, basically. I know nothing about Donald Trump's relations to the Native American tribes here in North America, so I really got nothing to say there. But noted, Navajo Nation is supporting Donald Trump and kind of downsizing the effects that the Obama administration had. Next up, okay, a man named John Ponder, I believe, spoke.
Led me into more and more arrests, getting in trouble until the age of 37 years old. I was arrested for a string of bank robberies. And based off of my criminal history, there is a potential that a federal judge can sentence me up to 23 years in a maximum security United States federal penitentiary. And in that moment, I played a let's make a deal together.
Oh, this is the guy that Donald Trump pardoned in night two. So I don't really want to get into the story, but it came off very well. Okay, so this guy started upon his release, I guess, from prison. John started Hope for Prisoners, a nonprofit committed to helping men, women, and young adults successfully re-enter the workforce, their families, and our community. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So Donald Trump comes on the screen next. I don't know who he's talking to. Oh, and they have John Ponder on screen. So So, and a guy named Richard Beasley, I guess, who helped with John Ponder or has a relationship with him in some way. Let's hear what they had to say. All three, Trump, Beasley, and Ponder, are all on screen together, with American flags behind them. I'm assuming this is going to be at the White House. Let's see what Beasley had to say.
Frustrated and anxious about his future. On the drive to prison, I stopped at a convenience store and bought John a coffee and a donut. After he was sentenced, John sent me a necktie and a note thanking me for treating him like a gentleman. 5 years later, when he got out of prison, John called me and wanted to meet for lunch. He was a different man. He talked about starting a re-entry program for men and women coming out of prison. Over time, John earned the trust and respect
Trump
of
looks
the law
determined,
enforcement community,
looking at the
many
camera.
of whom volunteered in John's Hope for President
Trump's a
program.
tall dude.
I'm grateful for
He's like
President Trump's commitment to
tall
criminal
guy.
justice reform. On February 20th of this year, he was the guest speaker at the Hope for Prisoners graduation. He stayed much longer than scheduled to hand out diplomas to the 29 men and women who graduated that day. What a sight.
That's pretty
The
cool.
most important man in the free world, shaking hands and pledging his administration's support to ex-offenders. Their families were there, the community was there. What a great second chance.
I'm not going to get too much into it, but I know that he did pardon him. Okay, yeah, they're, without revealing the audio, they're showing him pardoning him. Ponder's in tears. Yeah, shows it. Wow, Ponder's in a lot of tears here. It's a big moment, that kind of pardon. So next up is Rand Paul, probably the biggest speech that I missed besides Tim Scott. There was an incident after Trump's speech where protesters outside of his RNC speech, they confronted Rand Paul and his wife, apparently. I saw Paul was complaining about that on Fox News, so I don't really know what's up with that, but I never found it cool to gang up on somebody, you know, to confront them face-to-face like that after a protest. I mean, I guess it's technically peaceful, but when you're huddling around somebody, which I'm not saying that protesters did or if it even happened, but if that was the case, it's kind of a douchey move. You're not, you know, you could talk to them and approach them that way, but to hassle them, you got to know when to draw the line, I think, so hopefully that didn't happen. Let's hear a little bit of what Rand Paul had to say. So since I'm having everybody get a tidbit here on this
tax plan, Donald Trump and I worked together to make sure that it was a true tax cut. I brought President Trump an idea for better, less expensive health insurance called Association Health Plans. Donald Trump overturned years of red tape and bureaucrats, and he made it happen. While others talked about criminal justice reform, President Trump actually signed the First Step Act, the first real reform in a generation, and one that sought to undo the harm that others, like Joe Biden, have done. For those of us who lament the Biden crime bill that locked up a generation of young black men, remember that Biden bragged about a bill that still wreaks havoc among people of color. I'm supporting President Trump because he believes, as I do, that a strong America cannot fight endless wars. We must not continue to leave our blood and treasure in Middle East quagmires. I flew with him to Dover Air Force Base to honor 2 soldiers whose remains were coming home from Afghanistan. I'll never forget that evening. I can tell you the president not only felt the pain of these families, but that the president is committed to ending this war.
Okay. I don't know what else Rand Paul said. If there was anything notable he said, I didn't hear it. Or I didn't hear it being talked about on any news station. But, you know, again, I mentioned this on night one. Donald Trump, yes, he didn't get us into any war. The first president who hasn't done that in a while. And I commend him big time for that. He should get a lot of credit for that, a lot of praise for that. But he was, first off, he was very close to getting us into war with Iran, so it wasn't like it was totally clean. But second of all, and even more so, he never got us out of the wars we have already been in since he came into office, like he promised, as he was going in his first campaign as president. So that should be noted too. So let's go forward here. Okay, after Rand Paul, another highlight video. I don't know what this is about. Oh, showing, I guess showing the America, how great it is. Donald Trump made it great, blah, blah, blah. Okay, next up was a guy named Jason Joyce. Oh, this was effective. It was Joyce is a lobsterman from Swans Island, Maine. Again, this is a pretty effective thing where the Republican National Convention used everyday people and brought them on stage to tell their story about how the Biden campaign didn't help them, or the Obama administration didn't help them with Biden as vice president, but Donald Trump, he helped them. He helped them in their situation, and they made a better work life because of the Trump administration. And it's effective. It's effective when they're on there. And as The Hill pointed out, as I'm reading up on this more, and I did see this speech. This was a pretty cool speech.
I live on an island with 370 residents, and lobstering is how we provide for our families. Maine's lobstermen are true environmentalists. We practice conservation every day. If we didn't, we'd be putting ourselves out of business. 4 years ago, the Obama-Biden administration used the Antiquities Act to order thousands of square miles of ocean off limits to commercial fishermen. They did it to cater to environmental activists. Although Maine's lobstermen don't fish there, Obama's executive order offended us greatly. It circumvented the Fisheries Council's input. President Trump reversed that decision, reinstating the rules that allow stakeholder input, and he supports a process that seeks and respects fishermen's views. As long as Trump is president, fishing families like mine will have a voice. But if Biden wins, he'll be controlled by the environmental extremists who want to circumvent long-standing rules and impose radical changes that hurt our coastal communities.
All right. Interesting what he said there. This is a more specific topic that I didn't even think I was going to talk about while reviewing this, about lobster fishing, but it is an issue, I guess. It's interesting. This is a situation to me of big government versus small government. It's the small government people, the small council, the Fishery Council, as mentioned here. They know more probably what's going on in these oceans than the Obama administration ever did. And, in order for me to really have a strong opinion on this and have my decision made, I really need to know what's going on in that area and know the situation of the environment and stuff. Because I'm big on the environment. I don't want depletion unless the creature that's being depleted is like a menace to society. But I don't think that's the case, and I don't know. It's this is an interesting one. I really know nothing about it. I'd have to look it up. So next up is a woman named Chris Peterson. She's from Four Cubs Farm in Grantsburg, CFO. This sounds like another woman that's an everyday person. I don't remember her too much. Let's hear what she has to say.
Donald Trump became president in the middle of the Great Depression for dairy farmers in Wisconsin. In 2016, prices were horrible, and longtime generational farms across the nation were going out of business. In 2017, our 120-year-old barn, which served as our milking center, caught fire and burned to the ground. Our cows were spared, but because they needed to be milked 3 times a day, farmers, friends, and complete strangers from all over northern Wisconsin helped haul them to other farms where they stayed until we could rebuild. By the end of 2018, we had a new state-of-the-art robotic milking facility that allows our cows to milk themselves 3 times a day. At about the same time, President Trump's economic boom began helping dairy farmers across the nation. As a businessman, President Trump understands that farming is a complicated, capital-intensive, and risky business. More than any president in my lifetime, he has acknowledged the importance of farmers and agriculture. That support and focus on negotiating new trade deals gave us the confidence to rebuild our barn and dairy operation. Business was booming again, and business boomed right until the COVID-19 shutdown in March. Many people probably don't realize that our country is one of the few in the world that produces nearly all of its.
Okay, I gotta move forward, but another example of effectiveness from a small town person with a small business. It's this farm. Her business is bigger with farming, but it's another example of how effective these everyday people are when they're on stage. So let's go to, next up was a highlight video. Again, some interview. Let's hear it a little bit.
Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was huge, especially for a community like ours that has a lot of small businesses, manufacturing, deregulation, fair trade, real life policy changes that affected real Americans.
An amazing opportunity to get ahead, to have our businesses, to have our children educated. Of school choice.
That is something that's huge for parents right now, especially Black moms whose kids are trapped in failing school districts.
Again, praise for Donald Trump and his contribution to small businesses. I don't know. I don't like how he's managed the COVID-19 stuff. And granted, I haven't followed politics since really 2020 that well at all. And but I'm following it really hard now, or pretty hard, I should say. And in terms of saving small businesses from COVID-19, Donald Trump has done a shitty job in saving small businesses, just like how Congress has. He hasn't agreed with Congress. He hasn't compromised with Congress. He hasn't been the bigger man to compromise with Congress in saving small businesses. Small businesses are getting their asses kicked from this pandemic. While big corporations, they're doing great. Small businesses are dying big time. And, and while I see Congress being mainly to blame for that, particularly the Democrats, because they had they seem to have the primary advantage of discussion at the table. Trump and his administration did not do much either. I'm not a big economic guy, I'm just an average voter, an average person who's looking at politics more, right, as of right now. I'm just happening to look at it right now. And so I'm not an expert, but from what I see, what was I going to say? From what I see, I just think Donald Trump, talk is cheap to me. I haven't seen these results, and that's a big problem. So there we go. I really wonder how much Donald Trump supports small businesses as he's letting them die. And he's refusing to compromise with Congress, therefore it's his fault. And even though he's done things to prevent eviction moratoriums from happening recently, and even though he tried to do something with the executive orders that was supposed to be pandemic relief, which he doesn't have any legal standing to do, so they don't really mean much. He hasn't done anything for small businesses, to my knowledge. Maybe like the lowering of unemployment was meant to save businesses in a way, but businesses are lower level of importance compared to people's health. That's a bigger deal to me. And above that's communication. But I don't like it. This idea, I don't like this message Trump is sending about loving small businesses. Okay, the highlight video keeps going. Next up was a guy named Larry Kudlow who got shit on from that talk show I listened to from the Hill about the economy and stuff. He's the White House National Economic Council Director, and he's all about opening up businesses and stuff, I believe. I don't know. Let's hear what Kudlow has to say, because I heard it was not very good.
Presidential leadership came swiftly and effectively with an extraordinary rescue for health and safety to successfully fight the COVID virus. The year pandemic, it was awful. Health and economic impacts were tragic. Hardship and heartbreak were everywhere. But presidential leadership came swiftly and effectively with an extraordinary rescue for health and safety to successfully fight the COVID
definitely
virus.
not swiftly, and not
Great
so much
bipartisan rescue also saved the economy. Right now, our economic health is coming back. With emergency spending and tax cuts, Americans are going back to work. There's a housing boom, there's an auto boom, a manufacturing boom.
His mind must be going boom, because none of that is, I don't buy any of that stuff, from the news I'm listening to. So we're on different lengths, Mr. Kudlow. So that's what I have to say about you. The less said about him, the better from that speech. Let's see. John Peterson, from another small business person who, it seems, from Wausau, Wisconsin, who seemed to be a supporter of Trump due to his policies.
Our products and services made in the USA since 1957. My brother and I purchased the business from my uncles almost 38 years ago. What was a 12-person shop has now grown into a company employing 165 people today. Like most companies that are successful over the long run, we had to reinvent ourselves as the market changed. 6 years ago, we invested heavily in our business, just as the greatest recession appeared. Barack Obama and Joe Biden, two career politicians who knew nothing about business, couldn't get the government out of our way, and it put our business in a tailspin.
But Donald Trump saved them, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I got to move forward, guys. Sorry. But same message with the small town business owners not getting help from Donald Trump, and it's effective.
Good evening.
Let's see. Who's this woman? I didn't listen to this woman's speech. Granddaughter of late Reverend Billy Graham. Sissy, spelled C-I-S-S-I-E, Sissy Graham Lynch. I don't know who she is. Well, she just said, but let's see here.
Amendment. He supported religious beliefs in court. He ensured religious ministries would not be forced to violate their beliefs. He withdrew the policies that placed our little girls at risk. And on the world stage, President Trump became the first president to talk about the importance of religious freedom at the United Nations, giving hope to people of faith around the world. In America, we have not yet experienced physical persecution, even though the left has tried to silence us. Even during the pandemic, we saw how quickly life can change. Some Democratic leaders tried to ban church services, while marijuana shops and abortion clinics were declared essential. But you know what truly is essential? Our right to worship freely and live our faith in every aspect of life.
You can do it online.
The Biden-Harris vision for America leaves no room for people of faith.
Oh, Jesus. Wait, I'll listen to more.
Whether you're a baker, a florist, or a football coach, they will force the choice between being obedient to God or to Caesar. The radical left's God is government power.
That part I can kind of agree with. I mean, both sides are really interested in power, in my opinion, but definitely the neoliberal Democrats particularly really seem to enjoy power and enjoy how government is right now in terms of power. I don't know, man. Donald Trump, in the pandemic, he made a speech that he didn't answer questions with. He quickly walked away after making a statement. And this was like a White House briefing about how the governors in the United States should really, really, really consider opening up their churches, if they don't want any trouble, basically, or something like that. And, I just, what are with some religious leaders here who complain about stuff like this? I think if you want to have religious stuff, you can do it totally. You can do it online. You can do it online, or you can do it with social distancing, but it's not an essential. It's not as essential as other things. I don't know if the stuff with the smoking lounges being open and stuff, or the smoke shops. Those places have social distancing guidelines. They can't have crowds in there, just like how a church can. That's the way I see it. And so, I don't know. I just think it's foolish, but that's just my opinion. But the whole religious freedom thing, I don't really care about personally. But, it is an issue, and it's cool that Trump seemed to talk about it to international leaders who need to hear about religious freedom more. That's a big deal, but I don't know. I just think it's, yeah. Next person talking is Robert Valay Smilovich, mayor of Eveleth, Minnesota. Okay, so Minnesota dealing with a lot this year, particularly with the George Floyd stuff, with Kenosha, Wisconsin not being far away from them. Wisconsin's right next to Minnesota. So let's see.
Later, the Iron Range is roaring back to life, and we have one man to thank, President Donald Trump. He made good on his promises by cutting our taxes, rolling back senseless regulations, and delivering trade deals that put America's interests first. But the fight is not over. Joe Biden has allowed radicals like AOC to craft his environmental policies. Their so-called Green New Deal is a job-killing disgrace dreamt up by people who don't live in the real world. But Biden is too weak, too scared, and too sleepy to stand up to the radical left. He has been doing nothing in Washington for 47 years. Why would year 48 be any different? President Trump won't back down to anybody. He delivered the best economy in our history, and he will do it again for all of us. The Iron Range.
I'm going to stop there and move on. I've heard people say that President Donald Trump, I've heard this a number of times in this convention, President Donald Trump created the greatest economy in the history of the world. I want to challenge that. I want to challenge that and see if that's accurate. I'm sure Donald Trump made a very strong economy, and I think he might benefit too. And I know this is a pessimistic way of saying it, and he probably should get credit for the economy's strength, but the economy was recovering for quite a while before this pandemic. I mean, it's gone up since the recession in 2008. It's been going up. So, Donald Trump just happens to take credit for it. I wonder if that's the case too, with why the economy was so strong. But yeah, the whole best economy in the history of the world remark that people made in this convention. Yeah, I'm willing to challenge that. For sure. But I don't know much about the progressive liberal laws that would be job killing. I can't agree or disagree with that. I need to do my homework on that more and see if specific instances of what the mayor's talking about would be a job killing policy. So I need to look more into that and see if that's true. Next up is Abby Johnson. She founded a company called And Then There Were None, or like some kind of nonprofit, I guess, and she's the CEO of that place. So let's hear what she has to say.
Clinic.
I don't know what that is, by the way, but yeah.
I truly believed I was helping women, but things drastically changed in 2009. In April, I was awarded Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year Award and invited to their annual gala where they present the Margaret Sanger Award, named for their founder. Now, Margaret Sanger was a racist who believed in eugenics. Her goal when founding Planned Parenthood was to eradicate the minority population. Today, almost 80% of Planned Parenthood abortion facilities are strategically located in minority neighborhoods. And every year, Planned Parenthood celebrates its racist roots by presenting the Margaret Sanger Award.
I don't know anything about that. I really should be saying that more because I'm not an expert in politics, so I don't know this kind of homework, if that's true or not. But I wouldn't be shocked if that's true. I remember my uncle, he surprised me because we were arguing about abortion at the time. He took me to go see a movie that was basically a glorified campaign of something against abortion, against Planned Parenthood, and they portrayed Planned Parenthood. They portrayed Planned Parenthood as an evil company, and man, that was cringeworthy to watch. The acting sucked, but it's interesting. I changed my mind a lot on abortion. I probably am in the middle of how abortion should happen. I don't know, man. I think it's okay to have abortions. At a certain stage. At a certain point, I'm like, I don't know about that. The final semester or trimester, whatever. I don't know. But, I don't know. Honestly, like, other animals get killed. We're animals. And we've been overpopulating the earth for a while. And I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. And why do we complain about hunting other species and stuff? And I don't know. I changed my mind a lot about it because I'm hearing that the babies that are not born yet, unborn babies, they are alive and they do have minds and they have feelings and they can communicate with us at that stage before life, and that's a big deal to me. So I want to look more into it and look into the science behind that. But I get why people have abortions. I mean, I do offer a solution though, if it's an issue. This whole thing about disowning kids and stuff. Look, if the person is not willing to take care of this newborn kid, then it's not good to have the child then, right? I don't know. These are some questions I feel like we should have and we shouldn't be scared to talk about a little bit. I'm really just trying to do the right thing here, and look, I don't know. People die. People, I don't know. I really don't. Because are these babies even born yet? Are these babies even alive? I really don't know where to think about it. This is really the most middle topic for me, and I don't think this topic is going to leave. This is going to be the last topic if politics solves everything. If it solves everything, and it won't, this will be the last topic to be solved. This is such a middle of the ground topic, and I have different feelings about it that have arisen over time, and I've been more against abortion over time, and I'm more in the middle now more than ever about it. So that's where I stand on it. As for my vote. Anyway, let's get to the next person here. Yeah, but this woman was effective in her speech. She did something about how she had to meet a quota for how many babies she killed in her Planned Parenthood facility, and she repelled against that. So I'll tell you what, if Donald Trump wins the election, Roe v. Wade could very well be taken out. And I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't. So there we go. Oh, this was good. This was good. Next up was the kid that had the Making America Great, the MAGA hat on in front of the Indian that was playing the guitar in front of him. And the news thought that the media ran with the story that the kid confronted the Indian, but it was actually the opposite. And it was just, and the media never really apologized or took responsibility for running that ad, it seemed like. So, you know, I think it was interesting. Except for Fox News, they really challenged the media on that. So let's hear what that kid had to say, because I thought it was a powerful speech. I think it worked. This kid, I could see being ridiculed at school and stuff, and this is another example of the mainstream media not taking responsibility for misrepresentation of what happened in the news. And it needs to be stopped. They need to be called out on it, and the government needs to press on it more, because they control the information in this country, and they need to be, you know, they need to be checked a little bit. Nobody seems to be checking them, and they get away with it. They make stories that are clickbaity and in order to make money, because they're run by corporations. A lot of these big media channels like NBC News, MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, they're all run by corporations. And so we need to be, my goal is to want them to go back to the Cronkite days where they were fair and down the middle, and they weren't biased whatsoever. But let's hear what Nicholas Sandman, who's the kid, had to say.
I was trying to follow a family friend's advice, never to do anything to embarrass your family, your school, or your community. Before I knew what was happening, it was over. One of Mr. Phillips' fellow agitators yelled out, "We got him. It's all right here on video. And we won, Grandpa." What I thought was a strange encounter quickly developed into a major news story, complete with video footage. My life changed forever in that one moment. The full war machine of the mainstream media revved up into attack mode. They did so without researching the full video of the incident, without ever investigating Mr. Phillips'
I can
motives,
believe that.
or without ever asking me for my side of the story. And do you know why? Because the truth was not important. Advancing their anti-Christian, anti-conservative, anti-Donald Trump narrative was all that mattered. And if advancing their narrative ruined the reputation and future of a teenager from Covington, Kentucky, well, so be it. That would teach him not to wear a MAGA hat. I learned what was happening to me had a name. It was called being canceled, as in annulled, as in revoked, as in made void. Canceled is what's happening to people around this country who refuse to be silenced by the far left. Many are being fired, humiliated, or even threatened. And often, the media is a willing participant. But I would not be canceled. I fought back hard to expose the media for what they did to me, and I won a personal victory. While much more must be done, I look forward to the day that the media returns to providing balanced, responsible, and accountable news coverage. I know President Trump hopes for that too. And I know you'll agree with me when we say that no one in this country has been a victim of unfair media coverage more than President Donald Trump.
I don't know. I wouldn't agree with that, but let's, yeah. Donald Trump brings a lot of it upon himself for saying really stupid things. But, you know, I feel for this kid. I feel for him for being just messed with by the media. And I don't know. I know the government shouldn't be, it's dangerous with the idea of the government trying to regulate the media in any way and stuff, but we got to do something. We got to do something about the biased nature that the media has entered into, because it is just, it's really bad. Really, really, really bad for this country. They control communication. Communication is number one. Communication is number one. And, you know, I don't like it. I think all the anchors on those channels should be ashamed of themselves. I don't call them journalists until they're off those damn channels, at least. And there's a reason why the fake news remark that Donald Trump has famously made now, there's a reason why it's effective. It's because there's some truth to it. And we need to make it to where it's not effective. I think that should be our goal. That should be our goal. So let's get back to what's being said.
In November,
let's go to the next person. Finally, an hour in, a woman named Pam Bondi, who was a former Florida Attorney General from 2011 to 2019. She also was an administrator. She made some remarks here. I'm not going to get into what she said because I didn't really understand what she said, honestly. That's out of my expertise, even knowing. But she accused Hunter Biden of some of the Ukraine stuff that happened to him, that Joe Biden was a part of. And from what I saw from The Hill, the talk show I listened to on there, they called this woman a hypocrite for basically making that remark, which she kind of did the same thing in a similar way in a different situation. So there you go. That's what I think I heard. So okay, another promo package for Donald Trump. Okay, supporting women in the women in his cabinet and his stance with women. This makes a lot of sense, actually, since Melania was supposed to speak for the main part of the day 2 of the convention. Tiffany Trump, Donald Trump's young daughter, spoke after this. Apparently she just graduated from law school. So I don't remember what she said. I don't really care, so let's go forward here. She's not even apologizing. Why is she on the stage? Just because she's a daughter? I mean, I don't know. I don't like that. Governor Kim Reynolds, Republican from Iowa. Let's hear what she has to say. This is at the same time that there were some storms that took place in Iowa that really damaged a lot of stuff. So this is the Republican National Convention, along with the Kenosha stuff that happened at the same time here, and the hurricanes that happened in the southern part of the United States. 2020 sucks. I think she'll be talking about this here and how Donald Trump is helping in that situation.
And as so many of you already know, it's filled with farmland that feeds and fuels the world. It's also home to people who care for one another, who work hard, who love this country, and are truly grateful for the freedoms it provides. As I like to say, Iowa is one big small town. Neighbor helping neighbor is in our DNA. From the sick farmer who can't harvest his crops, to the single mom who loses her job and is struggling to get back on her feet, the town, the community, helps them get through it. But what happens when a storm rips through almost the entire state? When it's not one farmer who lost his crop, but hundreds? When it's not one neighbor who was without food, but thousands?
Get to Trump.
That happened just 2 weeks ago. A storm called a derecho with hurricane force.
I apologize. She should give her opinion on it. That was a stupid thing for you to say. But anyway, let's go to sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. That was irresponsible. That was inappropriate for sure. So sorry about that.
Of up to 140 miles per hour, wiped out millions of acres of crops, left thousands without power. It destroyed homes, wrecked lives, and left devastation in its wake. It was the worst storm in our state's history. And Iowans did what you expect Iowans to do. They helped each other, they took care of each other, and they still are. But someone else had our back, our president. When the winds had finished raging and the cleanup had only begun, he showed up. Now, you might not know that because the national media didn't report it, but the Trump administration was here in full force.
Remember her saying that.
The day after the storm, the president called to assure me that we had the full backing of the federal government. And later that week, Vice President Pence came to Iowa to again assure us that the president and his administration were behind us. With the help of the Trump administration, we quickly received a major disaster declaration that will help Iowans get back on their feet. The president, he cut through the bureaucracy to do what needed to be done and to do it quickly.
Okay, so that's a big endorsement towards Donald Trump right there. That's effective as well. Disaster relief. It's a big deal. And, sorry for what happened. Sorry for what I just said about Iowa. That was, I don't know. I gotta be more patient. And, yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, we'll get to the next person here. But again, the relief package is a big deal. There we go.
A country where your own resolution to succeed is more important than...
So now they're talking about, I think this is where Hunter Pence talked about the area around Fort Hood or something like that, or a historical place in the United States, and while also talking about how Donald Trump has helped them. So he's talking to everyday people here. A lot of white people. Let's see. Oh, okay, there we go. Black woman. Okay. And I'm not going to listen to all this. Just PR stuff to me. Okay, next is Ryan Hollitz, a New Mexico police officer from Albuquerque. I heard him talk. Got what he said. Let's hear real quick what he had to say.
I knew immediately that they were preparing to inject themselves with heroin.
He's talking about two people that he saw on the street.
Sadly, this is a common sight for me. I encounter the ravages of addiction every day. But nothing could prepare me for what I discovered as I approached them. The woman was very pregnant. In my shock, I asked her if she knew that she was harming her baby by doing drugs. She crumbled and burst into tears. Two worlds collided as I knelt down beside her.
I'm not going to get into what he said. I got to move forward, but it was basically Donald Trump, I think, towards crime, I want to say, and towards helping, siding with the police, of course. Anti-defunding the police was in this convention a lot, and as you'd expect from the Republican candidate, Donald Trump, so it made sense. So this is an example of a police officer being a civil police officer in this country. And I believe that there are a lot of those people out there in the police force. So next up talking was Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Nunez from Republican from Florida. Let's hear what she has to say for a little bit.
For a leader who would work tirelessly to jumpstart our economy and fight for hardworking Americans. Since day one, President Donald Trump has put America first. His pro-growth, pro-jobs agenda has ushered in historically low unemployment, record job creation, higher wages, and rising homeownership. The president is fighting to rescue American jobs and industries for places like Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Puerto Rico. Jobs that were needed.
Is that before or after the pandemic? Let's go forward here. Okay. This is a video of President Trump coming in, and this is a video of him making a number of international people, American, who've lived in the United States for a while, making them official American citizens. It was pretty nice, honestly. It was made him definitely humanized Donald Trump. So this video that I'm talking about, if you go back and watch it, I'm not going to play it, but it was effective, very effective actually, in humanizing Donald Trump. So it was effective. It looks like it happened in the White House again. Again, it's all about the Hatch Act for me and how they violated it. I think it's they shouldn't have done this kind of thing here at the White House. Nothing like this should be done at the White House. It's a government facility. So, yeah, I gave my opinion on that earlier. But okay, so skipping this. Next up was Eric Trump, son of Donald Trump. I don't remember what he said. I know he's a cabinet member too, or is it? Alexa, is Eric Trump a member of the Trump administration?
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not going to look into it, but I know he had some dabblings with the Trump administration at one point as a member. So I don't know. I don't like this high thing of having family members as cabinet members. I think that's such an inconvenient. That's such a conflict of interest to the highest degree that I think it's just unlawful. So there you go.
Together, we won. From that moment forward, America came first. America started winning again. America became respected again. But with every movement, there's a counter movement.
I don't know
In the
about
view of the
respected.
radical Democrats, America is the source of the world's problems. As a result, they believe the only path forward is to erase history and forget the past. They want to destroy the monuments of our forefathers. They want to disrespect our flag, burn the stars and stripes that represent patriotism and the American dream. They want to disrespect our national anthem by taking a knee while our armed forces lay down their lives every day to protect our freedom. They do not want the Pledge of Allegiance in our schools. Many of them don't want one nation under God. The Democrats want to defund and disrespect our law enforcement. The Democrats want an America where your thoughts and opinions are censored when they do not align with their own.
Some Democrats, I'm going to say, not all Democrats. Again, a lot of what Eric Trump said here is a lot of the stuff he said is kind of the overall package and the message of what this RNC convention was sending throughout the time, the radical left, and how crazy they are, basically. And, the whole thing about the flag and with Colin Kaepernick, first off, Colin Kaepernick asked military people if that's okay, and they said they didn't get offended, so he did it. Now, some military people did, I'm sure, get offended, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't really care, honestly. It's not. Look, if people want to disrespect the flag, to me, that's their right. If people want to burn the flag in this country, that's their right. Is it cool? Will I respect them? No. But I do respect a right to protest and freedom of speech. And that's what the troops fight for. The troops don't have to like every American, and they don't have to agree with every form of protest. But we all agree in the idea, I think, of freedom of protest and freedom of speech without that stuff getting censored. That's what I can agree with. And that makes me also agree with people who were protesting for going back to work during the pandemic because that's because their businesses were being depleted and destroyed from this government shutdown, from this nationwide shutdown from the pandemic. So I believe in freedom of protest a lot. So, but again, I'm not a military veteran, so I probably don't have a strong opinion on it. But you know what? I think the whole burning of the flag from certain people in this country. It's a very small minority, I think, that would do it. I think a lot of people love this country, and I have faith that a lot of people do. So, I think that it's for the people who do want to do it, it's their form of protest. It's nonviolent. And I think it is within the law of it happening. So that's what I think. Let's go to the next person on here. Next person, Eric Trump had a lot of time. Okay, so we're getting to the second hour. Next up was Daniel Cameron, who's the Kentucky Attorney General. He's black. He's African American. He supports Donald Trump. A lot of African Americans in this convention were specifically there just to state the fact, I think, this is just my opinion, that African Americans are out there. The Africans that support Donald Trump are out there, and it's okay too. But let's see what Daniel had to say specifically.
4 years old and the first African American Attorney General in Kentucky history. It is an honor to be with you as a proud Republican and supporter of Donald J. Trump. I was raised in Kentucky, just a few miles from Abraham Lincoln's birthplace. Our first Republican president believed in compassion, self-reliance, freedom, equality, and justice. Sadly, there are some who don't believe in this wisdom or in the better angels of our shared American history as they tear down the statues of people like Ulysses S. Grant, Frederick Douglass, and even Mr. Lincoln himself. Lincoln said, any nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure.
Hell, here in Fresno, a teenage girl who wasn't even out of high school, she made a petition to take down the Gandhi statue at Fresno State, which I thought was ridiculous. Some of the people he mentioned with taking down statues, like the Ulysses S. Grant one, where he's kind of checkered history. I get some of the tearing down of the statues, and I get why they need to be taken down, because for particularly minorities, and especially black African Americans in the history of this country, to have a statue like that up near a facility, it doesn't send a comforting message to them. And since it affects them and it doesn't affect, us white people, I don't think as much. As much as we like to think it does. I think we should take it down. And we should give African Americans a reason to feel like they are not, we shouldn't give them a reason to be uncomfortable in this country. And they have a right to be uncomfortable. It's a good reason why they're uncomfortable, of why a statue like that of a racist person is up there, of a slave owner is up there, The big one they should get rid of is Columbus Day, from what I've heard about him lately. But I don't know about the Abraham Lincoln, taking down statues of him, and I don't know about changing John Wayne's name at the airport. But I did hear that he's a draft dodger, so I don't like that. So now I'm not as sympathetic on that one. But changing the Mount Rushmore, it's like, come on, dude. I don't know about that either. That's a big one. That, to change that, I don't know. So let's go to the next person, which I believe, nope, it's Mike Pompeo. I thought it was Melania Trump next, but Mike Pompeo speaking from Israel, where they have their new base. This is another Hatch Act violation, according to The Hill, at least, and it's a new way of violating the Hatch Act from where he's doing it, by satellite, by location in Israel. So let's hear what he had to say, just a little tidbit.
That the Chinese Communist Party spies posing as diplomats in America are jailed or sent back to China. And he has ended the ridiculously unfair trade arrangement with China that punched a hole in our economy. Those jobs Those jobs are coming back home. In North Korea, the president lowered the temperature and against all odds got the North Korean leadership to the table. No nuclear tests, no long-range missile tests, and Americans held captive in North Korea came home to their families, as did the precious remains of scores of heroes who fought in Korea. Today, because of President Trump, NATO is stronger, Ukraine has defensive weapon systems, and America left a harmful treaty so our nation can now build missiles to deter Russian aggression. And in the Middle East, when Iran threatened, the president approved a strike that killed the Iranian terrorist Qasem Soleimani. This is the man most responsible for the murder and maiming of hundreds of American soldiers and thousands of Christians across the Middle East. And you'll recall, too, that when the president took office, radical Islamic terrorists had beheaded Americans, and ISIS controlled a territory in the size of Great Britain. Today, because of the president's determination and leadership, the ISIS caliphate is wiped out. It's gone. Its evil leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, is dead. And our brave soldiers, they're on their way home.
I don't know if they're on their way home, but it's interesting to see where the president lies in foreign policy. Again, in terms of foreign policy, I think he's done a good job because he hasn't put us in a war. And even though he was close to getting us in one, that's where I stand. But, you know, I don't know how I feel about Mike Pompeo. I mean, I don't really feel like he's ever being himself in his interviews. I feel like he's a puppet. he talks like a robot in these interviews, as if he's determined to stay with a certain script or something. But and you know, maybe that's a good thing considering how serious his job is. But not all the time. I wonder if he should do that all the time. So, yeah. I don't know how I feel about Mike Pompeo, to be honest. But all the things he's saying, I mean, besides the troops going back home thing, I mean, I don't have any reason to disagree with it. I'll have to look more into it. But I think Donald Trump is not the worst choice to pick in terms of doing a good job for the topic of foreign policy and war and, you know, combat with the United Nations against terrorists. So I think he is a good pick for that. But again, I don't know much. So let's go forward here. Now we're getting to Melania Trump's speech, which they did it at the White House. Donald Trump did a front row seat, basically, of this. Before that, they did a package of Melania. You know, the thing about Melania Trump is that she always looks like she dreads being First Lady. Like, she never really seems like she wants to be there. Like, she's horrified that Trump got elected as president, of being like, what am I going to do now, kind of thing. So, yeah. So anyway, she did a pretty good speech, honestly, for her thing. She said something in here to where she said, I'm not going to combat what the Democrats said last week because I want both sides to unite to get the work done, particularly I think about the pandemic, and that was very effective. And I think a lot of Americans resonated with that when she said that. That was probably the highlight of her thing. But she did a great job in many different parts of her long speech. Her speech is about 30 minutes long. And Donald and Melania, they walk back into the White House together, and that is the end of day 2 of the convention. So let's just hear a quick snippet of what she had to say, about 30 seconds to a minute long. So let's see.
Growing up as a young child in Slovenia, which was under communist rule at the time, I always heard about an amazing place called America, a land that stood for freedom and opportunity. As I grew older, it became my goal to move to the United States and follow my dream of working in the fashion industry. My parents worked very hard to ensure our family could not only live and prosper in America, but also contribute to a nation that allows for people to arrive with a dream and make it reality. I want to take the moment to thank my mother and father for all they have done for our family. It is because of you that I'm standing here today.
Now, I picked a bad time that really didn't have any substance, but, you know, it was nice what she said, but nothing about policy in there. But, you know, I think her speech, to sum it up, it was really good. And it was effective, too, which is not what I expected from a speech from a First Lady. So I thought it was a very good speech. And so was Joe Biden's wife's speech. They were both First Ladies, potentially, had very good speeches in this convention, some of the top ones. So there you go. That caps off night 2. Let's go to day 3 of the RNC. Let's see. I'm gonna take a quick break.